Straight up. Welcome to your Right Happy Bible Study. I'm Lisa Dennis Sparks, and you're watching Christians United Broadcasting Network. CUBN, where we want to see you be encouraged in Jesus' name.
Okay, guys. Okay, are we back? I gotta have some AC here. My phone is trying to die on me. Let's have some AC. This isn't my vehicle, so I'm trying to figure it out. Is that right? That's pretty good. Okay. When we went to break, my phone was telling me it's dying. Okay, so let's go back to our study here. I had to kind of rush to the car here and plug in so it don't die. Okay, and maybe if we stay in the car for a segment, then it'll charge up enough to where we can go back out on the beach again. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? And thanks to Michael for loaning me his vehicle here. I took off and we're going to do our study. Okay. So we left off in Daniel chapter 9, verse 23. We were talking about how at the beginning of thy supplications, the commandment came forth. And I am come to show thee. Now, notice that when the commandment was given, when Daniel first started to pray, God sent his answer the same day. But there was a battle. And Gabriel had to fight off the Prince of Persia for 3 weeks to bring this information. So he says, and I am come to show thee, for thou art greatly beloved. Therefore understand the matter and consider the vision. Now, we're going to go into, this is a terrible time for me not to have my computer. Because this is where we get into Daniel's equation. And this is where the timing comes from that I've been laying out for you as really good scriptural possibilities. Let's go into 24 and break it down. 70 weeks are determined upon thy people and upon thy holy city. Notice it's the people and the city together. And it's to accomplish 7 different things. To finish the transgression, to make an end of sins, and to make reconciliation for iniquity, to bring in everlasting righteousness, to seal up the vision and the prophecy, and to anoint the most holy. So there's 7 things that this 70 weeks are supposed to accomplish. Okay? Now, 70 weeks of years. 1 week is 7 years, for a total of 490 prophetic years. In verse 25, know therefore and understand that from the going forth of the commandment to restore and to build Jerusalem, that was given to Nehemiah and Ezra by Cyrus. He was the Persian king, Cyrus. And the commandment, that decree to go forth and restore and to build Jerusalem unto Messiah the Prince, that's unto the very end, till he comes, it says, shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. Now, those of you who think Jesus isn't coming back till the end of the 70th week, here is the proof that he is coming back sooner than the end of the 70 weeks, because it says, from the commandment to go and restore and to build Jerusalem until Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks and 62 weeks. That's 69 weeks of years. The streets shall be built again, and the wall even in troublous times. Now, notice in verse 26, and after 62 weeks, that's 62 weeks, or 434 years, shall Messiah be cut off, but not for himself. And the people of the prince that shall come shall destroy the city and the sanctuary. And the end thereof shall be with a flood, and unto the end of the war desolations are determined. Now that's a mouthful, so let's go back and explain this one. In verse 26, after 62 weeks, that a score is 20, so that's 62 weeks, or 434 years out of 490 prophetic years, shall Messiah be cut off. That's when he was crucified. And so he was crucified at the 434-year mark, or at the end of 62 weeks. That leaves 8 weeks, or 56 years remaining on the prophetic clock, and then it was paused as he was crucified. And it says he's cut off, but not for himself. He did it for us. And the people of the prince that shall come. Now, the prince that shall come is the Roman Antichrist. Okay? The people of the prince that shall come. So the end time Antichrist is a Roman. And it says the people, it says the people of the prince that shall come. So the same heritage of the end time Antichrist is the same heritage of those that shall come and destroy the city and the sanctuary. That was Rome. And the end, and we know that happened in 70 AD. And the end thereof shall be with a flood. And unto the end of the war, desolations are determined. Now, this flood is not necessarily water. This is a flood of anti-Semitism, of course, as well. Because once you're into the Great Tribulation, the second half, you're looking at a situation where anti-Semitism is such all over the planet that the Antichrist is going to issue an order that the Jews be killed. And people all over the world are going to be hunting them down and killing them. And unto the end of the war, desolations are determined. Desolations are offenses against God, offenses against the temple. There's going to be a new temple in the second half. In verse 27, and he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. Now, what covenant is this? This is the covenant from Isaiah 28:15. I'm going to buzz over there and give you that scripture. This is a covenant this is an agreement with hell. Okay? It's not an agreement with nations. It's not an agreement with the UN. This is an agreement with hell. In Isaiah 28:15, it says, because ye have said, we have made a covenant with death, and with hell are we at agreement. This is when Satan is here. This treaty is signed. And you have a supernaturally, satanically empowered Antichrist. And it says, because ye have said, we have made a covenant with death, and with hell are we at agreement. When the overflowing scourge shall pass through, it shall not come unto us. For we have made lies our refuge, and under falsehood have we hid ourselves. They're going to believe that if they take the mark and follow the Antichrist, that they are going to escape the destruction. They're going to escape the genocide that is coming upon the Jews. And they won't. See, no child of God is going to take the mark. It's not going to happen. And we know that because of Revelation chapter 13, verse 8. Let's look at that real quick. In Revelation 13:8, get this. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him. That's the beast. Whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb, slain from the foundation of the world. The only ones who are going to take the mark are those who are not written in the book of life. Now, all of the Jews are going to be saved. Okay, all of Israel is saved except that one tribe, the synagogue of Satan, the tribe of Dan, that was disinherited and replaced by Manasseh, the eldest son of Joseph. Now, he says, let's go back here, and I'm going to go back over here to Daniel 9:27. And he shall confirm the covenant with many. Okay, that's probably the EU superstate. But at that time, you've got Satan here. And so it's an agreement with hell. You've got Satan and his 1/3 have been cast down at this point. And you have the agreement with hell. The EU superstate has risen. The Antichrist is running things. And before you think that that's not very feasible, consider this. Man, my throat is starting to hurt. Why is that? I've been fighting off this stuff that my babies have got. Wow, getting a scratchy throat here. Now, the Antichrist rises in the EU. Now, keep in mind, before you think it's impossible that the Jews will ever embrace the Pope Antichrist, think about it this way, okay? You have a situation where if the sixth seal opens, like I think is a possibility. I mean, remember, these are just scriptural possibilities. These are not predictions, okay? I'm an analyst, not a prophet or a psychic. I study. I do my homework, okay? If the sixth seal opens when I think it's possible that it could, then after, well, let's just timing is set aside just for a moment. When the sixth seal opens, you have war in heaven according to Revelation 12. And when this war starts, the good angels and the bad angels all fight with each other. The bad angels do not prevail. Let's segue over here. Go to Revelation 12 real quick. And we're going to talk about this war in heaven just for a second here. If the sixth seal opens in July, well, this is July 27th is our possibility. That's our best possibility for the sixth seal to open, because it's the sixth blood moon out of the series of 7. And the 7th one would accompany the abomination of desolation in January. Now, I know we don't have a temple yet, but everything's going to change rapidly after we are evacuated. Okay? And another temple will go up. Now, before you think it's impossible for the Jews to embrace the Pope as their Messiah, keep in mind that Jesus has shown up in the sky. The Jews, it says the tribes all mourn in Matthew 24, 29 through 31. The tribes of the earth, that's Israel, mourn because they're like, oh man, it's Jesus. Jesus is the Messiah. Okay. They can see him with their very own eyes in the sky. And they're thinking, wow, the Christians were right. So the wicked turn to the Pope Antichrist, and then the righteous, they turn to Jesus himself. Okay? And they're going to give their heads. They're the ones that are going to be beheaded refusing the mark, not the Gentiles. Okay? Now, Gentile believers are dying and being martyred now, but not during the second half. All of the Gentiles have been evacuated during the second half. So back here in Revelation 12, look at verse 7. Now there's war in heaven. Well, there's war in heaven, and Michael and his angels fought against the dragon. Now what happens is if the sixth seal opens July 27th, it's a possibility. It's not a for sure thing, so don't go freaking out or anything. But be observant, okay? Oh, goodness, my throat's getting sore. Reekage. And there was war in heaven. We're in Revelation 12:7. There was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought and his angels, and prevailed not. Neither was their place found any more in heaven. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength in the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our God day and night. See, Satan still has access to the throne room right now. He's accusing us before our God day and night. And so they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto the death. These are Jews. Okay, this is the second half. Satan's cast down, and then you have the evacuation of the children and the Gentiles, and then the Jews are left here with the wicked, the tares, and the Jews are all that's left here. And so God is going to be dealing with the Jews, but all of Israel will be saved. Many will give their lives avoiding the mark. But keep in mind, the Jews are scattered worldwide still, even though there's a nation of Israel. There's about 6 million Jews in Israel. There's also at least that many or more, possibly more than that in the United States. And then you have, I think 6 million is probably 1/3. You've got about 6 million scattered throughout all the earth. Then you've got probably 6 million in the United States, and then there's 6 million in Israel. There's quite a few. That's not very many on the scale of the nations, but and that could be more. Their numbers could be more there. But what I'm trying to point out to you is that it says in verse 27 of Daniel 9, he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week. This is 7 years. It's a 7-year agreement, but it's an agreement with hell, not an agreement with the UN. It's an agreement with the satanically empowered leader of the EU superstate that has risen, revived Rome. Okay? And in the midst of the week, now this is interesting because it says, he shall confirm the covenant with many for 1 week, 7 years. And in the midst of the week, in the middle, not of the treaty week, but of Daniel's 70th week, okay? In the middle of Daniel's 70th week, which is the midpoint of the tribulation period, he shall cause the sacrifice and the oblation to cease. Now, that would be on our timeline, possibly somewhere around December 21st, 2018. That would be after the evacuation of the Gentiles. And for the overspreading of abominations, he shall make it desolate, even unto the consummation. So we have a defiling of the temple again, even unto the consummation. That's all the way to the end. And that determined shall be poured upon the desolate. So that is determined. Their punishment is determined for the desolations and abominations committed against the temple. Okay? Now, I wish I could see you guys. I can't see you. I'm sorry. Because dang it, my computer got wet and it won't come on, and it's wreckage. I really need it. So I can't see you guys. I can't see the live feed. I can't see who's there. I can't see the questions. I'm kind of blind here to, you guys' questions. So forgive me there. Okay. Now, Daniel's equation. Let me go through it real quickly with you now that we're at the end of Daniel chapter 9. Daniel's equation starts here go back to the 24th verse in chapter 9. 70 weeks of years, 490 years. Now, when Jesus was crucified, that was 434 years or 62 weeks of years having passed by already. And I have it written down when it started, but once he was crucified, that was 434 years, and it paused, leaving 56 years remaining. So, it says here, from the going forth of the commandment to restore and build Jerusalem unto Messiah the Prince shall be 7 weeks, 62 weeks. Then in verse 26, after 62 weeks, that's 62 weeks, Messiah's cut off. Okay. Now, there's an event that starts the clock back up. And that can only be, see, the prophecy is for the people, the Jewish people, and the city. The prophetic clock can't run unless the Jewish people are in control of Jerusalem. Okay? So we know that Israel recaptured Jerusalem in June 1967, the 6-Day War. So now we have June 1967. We're going to take the day in the middle, which is the 7th. So this gives us an error factor of 3 days, front and back. And then what we do is we add the 56 years of 360 days each, not 365. 360. We got to use the Hebrew calendar. Okay? So we add 56 years of 360 days each, which is 20,160 days. So we take June 7th, middle of the week, the 6-Day War, and we add 20,160 days. And that takes us to August 17th, 2022. That would be when the New Jerusalem descends, if our timing is correct, and it might not be, okay? But there is no other solution to Daniel's equation. It's very cut and dry. And that's the only event that it could be to start the clock back up again. Jews and Jerusalem have to be together for the clock to run. So, as it looks, for Daniel's equation, it looks like the New Jerusalem descends August 22nd, 2022. That would be the very end of the generation. And remember, don't write me. These are possibilities, okay? But this is what Daniel's equation gives us. This is the information his equation gives us. So if you add, the event was revealed by time in June 1967, all right? Jews recapturing Jerusalem starts the clock again. That would mean the New Jerusalem descends back upon the earth August 17th, 2022, give or take 3 days on either side. Then we back up by 45 days. Let's see, what's Troy saying? Okay. I don't know, Troy. We can just keep, I don't know how many segments we can just keep going until our regular time if you want. I'm not on any time pressure to wrap up tonight, okay? Is it time for us to go to another break? Yeah, okay. We're going to take a real quick break, and when we come back, we're going to go through Daniel's equation.
Straight up.